we're going to do. Barbara, I need money for my classroom, and I don't know what to do.
Just a second. Let me go look here online. GoFundMe!
Oh! Yep.
Okay.
Hey there, cool teachers. Welcome back to another episode. We are going to talk specifically about how you can put money in your classroom for the things that you want to do.
Right.
I used to have to be real careful when I taught in the public high schools about when I was going to ask for help from the parents, when I was going to ask for help from the principal. The monies are so finite, but there's stuff that you need. I would need new equipment. I'd need new software. I'd need this or that. And I just had to pick my times. But now, in today's day and age, if you have a great idea, you can ask the web to help out.
Yeah.
Not only is there GoFundMe, which is often used for tech projects or interesting little creative things that people can buy in advance and give them seed money to build it, but they have a GoFundMe for teachers. Tell us more about it, Barbara.
Right, I was really surprised. I thought, well, teachers can write grants, but that's very time-consuming and
very competitive.
Yeah, and very competitive. And so I just did some research in GoFundMe, and there's actually a GoFundMe page or GoFundMe site for teachers.
Yep.
So anyhow, there's an education page which Joanna's going to show on the screen right there, and it's GoFundMe for teachers. It's GoFundMe.com/education or something like that.
Yep, it's exactly what it is.
And so could you go back to the script, please? Because I have to read this.
Absolutely. I apologize.
Yeah, that's fine. Anyhow, that's a good place to start if you need money you can't get from your school or other sources to complete a classroom project. So you were supposed to read this, but I'll read this and then we'll...
Okay, go ahead.
I'll go with this first one and then you can flip around, okay? So anyhow, here are some ways you can use GoFundMe for the classroom. Are you ready, Chris?
Yes.
All right. Computers for the classroom, obviously. Teachers can provide one-to-one computing for their students by getting Google Chromebooks, and it's very inexpensive compared to the old days when you had to spend $1,000, remember that, basically, for a computer. So one teacher outfitted her entire classroom with a budget of $2,000, and she with these $160 Chromebooks.
That's awesome.
You add your free Google tools and the non-support because the Chromebooks are automatically updated, and you have a very inexpensive technology-enabled classroom.
Yeah, and one reminder, one-to-one doesn't mean that every student has to have their own device all the time, every time.
Oh, I hadn't thought of that.
You can go one-to-one half the class at a time. It means a student has a device to work on a thing.
I really never thought about that.
Yeah, we build this, I think, mistaken belief that in order for any instructional piece to work...
Like if you have 30 students, you need 30 computers.
You must have them or you can't go one-to-one. No, you can go one-to-one. You just don't have everybody do the same thing at the same time.
Oh, sure. That makes sense. Thank you for telling me
absolutely.
that.
So you can go one-to-one personal projects on machines. Okay, sorry.
Got it.
Another way that teachers are using the GoFundMe type of apparatus is for books.
Oh, yeah.
Now maybe those books are ebooks. Maybe those books are Kindle devices, which are really inexpensive right now. The Kindle Fires are down to like...
Are they?
Yeah, $40 or something like that.
I didn't know that.
Right. So for that purpose. But one teacher obtained about $500 just from a GoFundMe to put books in her third grade classroom. It's a low-income school district, and she was able to do it just by saying, here's what we want, here's a meaningful project. Is there anybody out there who would like to contribute to that? And people were writing checks for $50, $100, $20, $5. It didn't matter. Help that come to fruition.
Made her third grade classroom.
Books.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, how about field trips? Okay. You want to have your kids go on a field trip, and I know you took your kids on a field trip when you were in school. That was a big field trip, and you didn't have GoFundMe. They didn't even have the internet then, did they?
They didn't.
They didn't even have typewriters. Wow. Whatever. Anyhow, a science special education teacher in Oakland, California, he or she, I don't know what it was, budgeted and got $1,500 for a field trip to San Francisco Science Museum, and the students really loved it. They would have never had the opportunity to go to San Francisco to this science museum. And it was $1,500 or something like that, or $1,300.
That is cool.
I don't know, $1,500.
Okay, here's another way. How about using GoFundMe to fund your after-school programs? Now, I have been really excited of late about esports, creating a gaming club that meets after school, gives them a safe space where they can learn more about those things. We can arm them about, if they're going to enter those spaces, how to do them responsibly. We can introduce them to mentors. And, well, if you need some equipment to do that, if you need to buy an Xbox 360 or several Xbox Ones for your classroom, you can set up a GoFundMe page, outline what it is that you want to do and the equipment that you're going to need, and allow people to contribute to that for your after-school program. Maybe it's a gaming club, maybe it's some other activity that interests you, German club, Latin club. Let's not bring back Latin Club.
No.
Yeah, that was a bad idea.
Even I'm not into Latin Club.
No.
How about week-long trips, okay? As a teacher.
Oh, as a teacher. Yes, week-long trips as a teacher.
Yeah, as a teacher, yeah, without the students. No, you have to take your students too. So you might want to teach your students more than what's just in your classroom, obviously. So a week-long trip is great. One high school teacher raised $2,000 to take her students to Yosemite. How fabulous would that be?
Oh, my goodness.
Where they volunteered, and then they learned all about the ecostructure. And
they learned all about, hey, they named that mountain after Apple products.
Yeah, life without cell phones. What an idea.
No, but they were like, oh, what's that called? El Capitan? They named it after the Apple operating system? I can't believe it. Wow.
I'm not sure they even know that El Capitan is the name of the Apple operating system, though, quite frankly. But, I can always be surprised. I can always be surprised.
Yep.
What else, Chris?
A couple of other things that there are lots of different ways that teachers can use GoFundMe to create opportunities for their students, and one of those ways that I was just thinking about is to get them a little bit of creative space within the classroom.
Yeah,
so
like the esports thing.
Well, or even if just to make it look different.
Set up, like for instance, obviously if you're doing like a little maker lab in your classroom or something like that, get a little section of that set up.
One piece before we go, just a thought on this. Sometimes if you don't have administrative buy-in and then say an administrator or a school board member finds out that you have posted something online saying we don't have enough money for this, it can look pretty embarrassing. And some schools have policies about asking for money outside of the normal bounds. So make sure that you check that out before you dive into the GoFundMe stuff, because you don't want to find yourself in hot water.
Right. And also make sure that once you do create the GoFundMe page, that you give that exact page URL to the people who might be interested in funding it, because there are fake GoFundMe pages out there. You might even create a little QR code and post it in your
some
classroom.
Kind of feedback loop so that you can make sure,
that they're accessing your GoFundMe page, because is that the bell?
It was. It's time to go.
GoFundMe. Yeah. Go find me.
Whoa. Sounds like you're using that as a curse there just a second ago, Barbara.
Yeah. Go find me is what I meant to say.
Okay.
I'm leaving this place. I'm leaving this joint.
All righty. Well, thanks for hanging out with us. We appreciate Barbara and her big sweatpants. And we'll see you the next time that we're together. Be sure to like, subscribe, and tell us if you've been doing some GoFundMe stuff. Yeah. We'd love to know.
We would.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye.